Hello, good evening. On the eve of her appearance before the Salmon Inquiry Committee, the First Minister is facing calls for her resignation. The release of new documents wrote out why she pursued a fight with Alex Salmond. Her lawyers warned her she would lose. Further evidence from two other witnesses has also called into question Miss Sturgeon's version of events. The leader of the Scottish Conservatives has said Nicola Sturgeon should step down and is preparing to call a vote of no confidence. Miss Sturgeon has called that suggestion, in the middle of a pandemic, utterly irresponsible. Now, this story is long, complicated and deeply personal. It begins with a friendship between the SNP's two big beasts, Alex Salmond and Nicola Sturgeon, that soured when he faced trial for sexual assault, a trial that ended in acquittal. Miss Sturgeon supporters believe this is a grievance grudge against her. Scottish Labour and Conservative parties say they just want to get to the truth of what the First Minister knew and, critically, of how Scotland's institutions are being run. We'll hear from each side in a moment. First, Nick Watt will do his best to explain how we got here. Nick.
Well, Emily, this is a moment of peril for Nicola Sturgeon. Last week, Alex Salmond accused her of lying to the Scottish Parliament and of breaking the ministerial code over her handling of the allegations against her.
Hamza Youssef, Douglas Ross, thank you both very much indeed. For nearly 12 months, the Chancellor has, in his own words, run a whatever-it-takes economy. Massive financial support from the state for a population that's been unable to go out to work. Tomorrow, he's set to reveal the furlough scheme will be extended until September. Unprecedented spending by any government, even more so a Conservative one. After that, Rishi Sunak's warned it's back to business, with hard choices ahead between tax rises and spending cuts. It all sounds inevitable, rational, but what if it isn't? Look around the world and ask why Britain is one of the few major economies talking about tax and spend in the middle of a global pandemic. Is this an economic choice or is it a political choice? Here's our policy editor, Lewis Goodall. Thank you both very much. Thanks for joining us. Now, as the Biden administration puts together a huge stimulus package to revive the country from the effects of COVID, many in his party believe it should be funded, at least in part, by cutting spending on defence. During the final months of the Trump administration, an ambitious plan to modernise the country's nuclear weapons was put forward. Now, as it measures its financial room for manoeuvre, the new administration's reviewing whether it needs the new nuclear weapons. In among them is one destined for Trident missiles used by the US and Royal Navies. Our diplomatic editor, Mark Urban, investigates how the British government is now doing its best to make sure that project isn't cut. Now, if you're the boss of the social chat site Reddit, you've had a couple of big issues to deal with recently. How to deal with Donald Trump is one of them. The other is GameStop. The meteoric rise of a gaming company was the stock market story that your kids knew about well before you did, because they've been watching the buzz around it online. Reddit has nearly 450 million users worldwide and is commonly known as the front page of the internet. Well, tonight we hear from the man who found himself at the centre of that storm and others, Reddit Chief Executive Steve Huffman. Here's our Silicon Valley correspondent, James Clayton.